What is up, you guys? Welcome to another new Millionaire Reaction video. I'm Millionaire Reactor Robert, and welcome back to Wrestling Reaction Weekend. Now, this is top 10 WWE wrestlers who fought back against hazing. Now, if you don't know what hazing is in wrestling, it's basically like when the veterans always picked on like the newer people who came in. It was something that happened a lot in the Attitude Era. It got real bad sometimes. The most I could think of was mostly JBL picking on like the Blue Meanie. It's mostly JBL who did a lot of hazing like to a lot of people. I know Randy Orton did it once to somebody. I believe he like took a shit in someone's bag or something like that. There was just a lot that happened. Let's get into this video. But before we get this video started though, I'd appreciate if you guys would hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 10,000 subscribers, and I appreciate if you guys would subscribe. Without further ado, let's get it started.
For the longest time, and in many ways it still is, wrestling was one of those industries built on a rigid and unwritten series of social traditions. Respect given and earned through ritual, whether it's shaking the hands of everyone in the room as soon as you arrive at a show, undercarders helping to put up and take down a ring, all the way to enduring the ribs or pranks of the veterans. And hey, pranks are fine. Then Justin Roberts having his passport stolen and not given back to him so that he missed a flight, that's not really a prank.
And then he got in trouble by Vince, I believe, or something like that.
Having his passport stolen and not given back to him so that he missed a flight, that's not really a prank. That's just you being a dick. Until a wind of change blew through WWE in the 2010s, and we'll get to that, hazing of newer talent by veterans went unpunished in the company. And hey, to be honest, I wouldn't want to police a bunch of testosterone giants hopped up on adrenaline and compensating for professional frustrations by clinging to their last vestiges of social clout either, which makes it all the sad that I took it till they liked me is how most hazing stories end. Most, but not all.
Yeah, the Miz got it real bad. And yep, there's the JBL and Blue Meanie thing.
I'm hailing from Parts of Unknown, and here are 10 WWE wrestlers who fought back against hazing. And just before we kick into the list, please subscribe to Parts of Unknown.
Yeah, go check out Parts of Unknown. They'll be in the title and also in the description below. So go ahead and check them out.
And some people who watch our stuff watch it but don't subscribe, and that's fine in a way. But also, if you do subscribe and help us add the numbers to the current number, the big numbers means we can get money and make content for the numbers. Number 10, Brock Lesnar. Jesus Christ, why would anyone want to haze a 280-pound amateur wrestler
Brock
that looks
got
like
hazed?
the abominable snowman with alopecia? I mean, hell, Kurt Hennig tried to tussle with Brock Lesnar on a plane ride from hell, and the Vanilla Meat Storm tussled back so hard it almost killed everyone. WWE history books are full of Brock giving back as good as he got, but so far my favourite story I found during my research was a fresh-faced Brock Lesnar being summoned to Wrestlers Court, an unofficial dispensary of justice for perceived breaches of wrestling etiquette, and Brock allegedly didn't show up for his court date. When JBL tried to retrieve him, Lesnar simply responded, "F*** off," and f*** off JBL did. Although when Lesnar jumped ship from
Oh my goodness, I couldn't even imagine doing that. But then again, Brock Lesnar was a different type of person and still is.
Responded, "F*** off," and f*** off JBL did. Although when Lesnar jumped ship from WWE to the Minnesota Vikings, they managed to get a successful haze on him, taping his ankles together, dumping water on him, and having a receiver pin him with a 3 count. Number 9, Lio Rush. While the crueler examples of backstage hazing have widely diminished in the internet age, there's still expectations of newer talent to act subservient, an issue recently brought to light by Lio Rush, who was having none of it. Last year, Rush took to Twitter to share an email he'd privately sent to WWE management in November 2018, which was around the time he was working as Bobby Lashley's mouthpiece, detailing how an unnamed WWE colleague took him to one side and told him how it was expected for new talent to buy beers for veterans, carry coolers off the tour bus, and even carry some of the older guys' bags for them, to which Rush responded.
Yeah, I heard a lot of that in the Attitude Era. And a lot of people took it like, as like, oh, okay, I'm a newcomer, let me do it. But I mean, I understand where Lio Rush is coming from, where he's gonna deny doing it. But this probably isn't as bad as like what might be coming next. I do know they did pick on Lio Rush a couple of times as well.
Carry coolers off the tour bus, and even carry some of the older guys' bags for them, to which Rush responded, no. That's not my job, which in his own words led to a severe amount of heat backstage, with other wrestlers spreading damaging lies about him and his attitude behind his back. Just an example of how even in the modern era, people may not be shitting in each other's food anymore, but failure to know your role can still hold talent down. Number 8, Palmer Cannon. Ah yes, the first of what will be many entries about how JBL is not a nice man, shots fired. Palmer Cannon was an on-screen authority figure in the mid-2000s.
I believe you could probably make a whole damn video of just all the times JBL's been an asshole.
Is not a nice man, shots fired. Palmer Cannon was an on-screen authority figure in the mid-2000s who, much like the Right to Censor before him, was an on-screen parody of meddling network execs championing for political correctness gone mad. Palmer Cannon's initials were PC. Get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? However, Palmer Cannon's WWE career would come to an immediate end in April 2006 when he walked away from a WWE tour in Italy, flying himself home and demanding his release from the company. The reason for this? Chris Benoit, JBL, and their constant wrestlers court bullshit, including allegedly duct taping him, throwing him in the showers, and threatening to sexually assault him. And yet, turns out you don't need to work for a company.
What the fuck? Dear God.
Throwing him in the showers and threatening to sexually assault him. And yet, turns out you don't need to work for a company that allows that kind of thing to happen backstage. And while it's sad to see anyone being driven out of a company in that way, fair play to Cannon for deciding that a decent wage wasn't worth that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Upset about
Fuck
bots and
that.
competitors clicking on your ad? Why me? Why me?
If you're ever harassed in a work area and no one does anything about it, like someone with higher power doesn't do anything about it, just get the fuck out of there. It's not even worth it.
Number 7, Bubba Ray Dudley. Another example of wrestling not being real until someone decides to make it real. By far the most common form of hazing in WWE was having veterans wrestle newcomers stiff, striking and grappling them harder than they otherwise would in order to gauge that newcomer's toughness. Because yes, a good way to test someone's wrestling ability is for Bob Holly to chop them in the throat and see what happens.
Yeah,
in an
fuck
interview,
that.
Bubba Ray Dudley looked back on a time where JBL put him through his paces. According to Bubba, Vince had taken Bradshaw to one side and instructed him to, quote, beat the shit out of this kid, which to be fair is exactly what Ollie Davis told Luke to do to me when I first started at WrestleTalk. According to Bubba, JBL started punching him full in the face for real, so the ECW alumnus returned fire and started painting the Texan with stiff shots of his own. After the match, Bradshaw said to Vince of the Dudleys, these kids are gonna be alright, and that's equal parts heartwarming and downright psychotic.
What
Number
the
6,
fuck?
Ken Shamrock. Why would you haze him?
No.
Look at him.
Yeah.
Look at him. He looks
No.
like 8 wolves. He looks like if neck veins gained.
Even now, Ken Shamrock looks like a fucking monster, man. I think this is even him modern time. He still looks like a monster.
Look at him. Look at him. He looks like 8 wolves. He looks like if neck veins gained sentience. He looks like if Robert De
Jeez.
Niro and David Hasselhoff had a baby and that baby grew up in the wilds of Siberia. This
Yeah,
incident
I
happened
see it.
during Shamrock's time in WWE, but actually dated back to 1990 in South Atlantic Pro Wrestling, a Carolinas-based promotion. The Nasty Boys, who are about to leave the promotion for WWE, were in a club with a few guys, including Shamrock, one of Shamrock's friends, and that friend's girlfriend, whom the Nasty Boys repeatedly, drunkenly grabbed at, despite Shamrock's warnings not to. Later that
Damn.
night, an irate Shamrock stormed the Nasty Boys' hotel room when Sags hit him from behind with a metal plate underneath a telephone before beating the hell out of him and nearly throwing him over a balcony. Nasty Boys, you're twats. And so the story went for years that Jerry Sags had beaten up Ken Shamrock until one fateful day in 1998 when all three men ran into each other at an airport. WWE guys began to rib Shamrock about the fight and he flipped out, challenging the Nasty Boys to a rematch which both men politely declined before hightailing it. Number 5, Scott Hall.
And I could think about the karma that came to them when they came to the WWE and they didn't want to like sell for like I believe it was the APA or something. I forgot what they used to be called, which was JBL and Farouk. And after that, they're like, nah, fuck that. You're gonna fucking sell for us. And they didn't want to because they came straight out of ECW or something like that. And early in the clip, you could see where they were talking about JBL doing like stiff shots to Bubba Dudley. Like you could see when he was hitting him with the chair. That was that match, and I remember they both got the shit kicked out of them. So I guess that's kind of karma.
Spoiler alert, the moral of this story is don't mess with Scott Hall. This story dates back to before Scott's time as
Give me a second. Yeah, I can't imagine messing with like any of these guys. It would just be insane.
Razor Ramon back when he was working in the AWA in the late 80s. The details of the incident are that Marty Jannetty, who was riding high in the AWA as part of the Rockers, checked into a hotel with a friend for the night before proceeding to trash their room. The only problem was, the name they'd given at hotel check-in was Scott Hall's. The hotel then proceeded to call the AWA to complain. When Scott Hall got wind of what actually happened, he approached the AWA's booker, Bob Brown, to ask permission to enact brutal revenge on Jannetty, which was given. Scott Hall proceeded to the locker room where he found Jannetty sleeping, and consciousness being no object, rained down upon him with great vengeance and furious anger. Since he'd only been there for 6 months, Hall expected to be fired for the outburst, but was simply told, hey, next time, do it after the show, because now Marty can't work. Oh, wrestling, you're f***ing terrifying all of the time. Number 4, Steve Blackman. And
I can't even, like, I get it, messing with him once, just like fucking with him, but then like I don't even want to know what he did for his revenge.
Now begins a trilogy of entries that I like to call JBL f***s around and JBL finds out. So Bradshaw really enjoyed his role as unofficial policeman in the Fed, prosecuting whenever wrestlers committed faux pas, breaking in new talent in the ring, and, checks note, feeling up new talent in the showers. Well, I guess that's tough.
Hell no.
Sorry, I guess I don't really understand tough guys. Bob Holly detailed a story in his book about how JBL's little habit of goosing his workmates almost cost him big time when he tried it against the lethal weapon Steve Blackman, the toughest man to ever walk around with a block of cheese on his head. At an airport, a drunk JBL repeatedly patted Blackman on the bottom, to which Steve responded, and I'm paraphrasing here, kindly refrain lest you encourage bad news. A few more pats later, Blackman repeatedly popped JBL in the face until they were broken up, with Steve threatening to kill JBL and only being placated by JBL apologizing to him in front of
JBL, man, is just why would you fuck with Blackman though? That dude scared me even back then. Like I can't even imagine what his stiff hits would actually feel like.
The entire locker room. Number 3, the Blue World Order. Who run the world? Blue. Look, I haven't told this story in a while, so just leave me alone. One Night Stand 2005, and during the closing WWE versus ECW brawl, an intoxicated JBL repeatedly punched the Blue Meanie for real, because JBL is repeatedly a tool for real. It's generally one of the most egregious and public showcases of someone violently big asshole, talent because they aren't from round here, but oh boy did they make Bradders pay for it. Less than a month later, on the 7th of July 2005 episode of SmackDown, which by the way was also the episode featuring the terrorist angle that got Muhammad Hassan unceremoniously sacked, so an all-round great episode of telly. Featured on the card was a no DQ match pitting Meanie against Jables, which saw Stevie Richards avenge Bradshaw's hazing by cracking him with one of the hardest chair shots we've ever seen, dealing JBL a whopper concussion, and like, are we supposed to see that as a Yas Queen moment? Because dude's getting a disciplinary head injury on public telly. It's just like, get an HR department that works, WWE, for fuck's sake.
I get it. I totally understand it. But JBL had it coming. He had it coming.
Number 2, Joey Styles. Alright, this one's a pretty feel-good moment. Joey Styles, acclaimed ECW branded throat destroyer, enthusiastic exclaimer, and the father of AJ Styles.
I love this story. I believe it was JBL as well who was picking on him. And obviously, Joey looks like a fucking tiny ass guy, and then eventually he got sick of it, punched JBL, and knocked him out, I believe.
Down JBL with a single punch. During WWE's visit to Iraq in 2008 for that year's tribute to the troops, JBL reportedly spent much of the tour off his ass drunk and making Joey Styles' life a living hell. During the plane ride home from Iraq, JBL poured a bucket of ice over a sleeping Lillian Garcia, it being another unwritten rule of wrestling etiquette that falling asleep on a plane made you fair game. This, combined with days of torment, saw JBL and Styles get into a shouting match with wrestlers rushing to pull them apart. When Bradshaw broke free and rushed Styles, Joey struck him down with a single punch, which is a George McFly finally taking down Biff kind of movie moment that makes you wipe away a tear. Apparently, Styles gave JBL a black eye that was so visible that on the next episode of Raw, the 2008 Slammies, JBL wore his hat super low to keep the eye in shadow. And number 1, Luchasaurus. Yes, despite having a Jurassic gimmick, Luchasaurus has no time for outdated, air quotes, traditional hazing bullshit. Although he wasn't Luchasaurus at the time, instead he'd been going by the name
that's what he looks like? Okay, I've seen this picture, but that's a different image of him. Wow, that's crazy. I did not expect him to really look like that.
Wasn't Luchasaurus at the time. Instead, he'd been going by the name Judas Devlin in NXT. Devlin was released from NXT in 2014 after an injury, and a few months later, in early 2015, took it upon himself to blow the whistle on then NXT head trainer Bill DeMott's brand of this guy Camp Breakum to make him style of training. The man, currently part of the Jurassic Express, shared to Reddit an email he'd previously sent to WWE's HR detailing just some of DeMott's horrendous treatment of young talent, including dangerous drills, grabbing an injured Dax Harwood by his neck, ripping a shirt off the superstar then known as Rusev while he was recovering from neck surgery, and much more. The post led to a number of other talent coming out with their tales of performance center cruelty, including EC3 tweeting, "A heart can stretch me any day, and know nothing dipshit slapping me when I'm concussed is different." Amidst the scandal, DeMott stepped down as head trainer, and this could be seen as the symbolic end of the old school ritual of hazing, of mean-spirited violence and torment dressed up as rites of passage, although how much still goes on behind the scenes is anyone's guess, because wrestling is super weird. It is super Weird. And that's our list. Have we missed any famous
Jeez.
examples of wrestlers fighting?
I can't even. These are some crazy ass stories. I knew some of these, but I did not expect what, I didn't expect some of these stories. These are wild, absolutely crazy. The one about Luchasaurus, though, that's wow, man. I can't even imagine that. And then everyone else who went through it. I knew the dude was very bad, but I did not expect all that. And just especially the like Rusev, well, Miro, Luchasaurus, and then what EC3. That's wild. That's absolutely insane. I really did not see that coming. But good on them for speaking out on what had happened to them. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, hit the like button. If you're new, subscribe. We're on the way to 10,000 subscribers, and I'd appreciate if you guys would subscribe. Also, comment down below what you guys want me to react to next, and I'll do it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.